June is a terrible month to be living here in Virginia. I woke up this morning. I took my cat Teddy for a walk, and when I stepped outside, it felt like I was walking into a shower without running water. At least I can still read in the comfort of the indoors. Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and I'm giving you my wrap-up for the week ending June 29th. But before I get to that, I have a little oversight to correct. I want to talk about the story 310 to Yuma by Elmore Leonard. I actually finished this 2 weeks ago, and I forgot to include it in my wrap-up. And then I forgot to include it again in the next week's wrap-up. So finally, I want to tell you about this short story. This was read for June on the Range. It is probably my second favorite Western story for the month. This is a story, I guess he's a lawman, marshal. He's a man who's been hired to escort a prisoner to a jail. And this prisoner, let's just say, has some buddies who are willing to bust him out, to get this lawman to give up their friend. But this guy, he's getting paid $150 to escort him down to prison. Now, this is the Old West, so $150 was, good money, but is it worth dying for? And that is the whole big question. This prisoner and this law guy exchange. But of course, this is going to end in a gunfight, because that's what Westerns do. And this story is about 20 pages long, and I really liked it as a short story. And I'm going to be first to admit I have not seen either of the two movie adaptations. There have been people who've commented how good they are, but if you know my channel, I've got better things to do than watch a movie. I finished reading a short novella. Maybe it's a novelette, or even possibly a short story. It's not very long. It's like 50 pages long, 59 pages long on my Kindle, and that was Undead Folk by Katherine Silva. I watched MJ at Reading This Life give this book a really rave review. She liked that book a whole lot. And this is a story narrated by a woman. Sometime in the future, there has been a sort of apocalypse. It's more of an economic apocalypse where the world has economically just collapsed, and there are some enclaves of some very rich people, and the rest of the world just has to fend for themselves. And in this outside world, there's a woman with the ability to resurrect dead animals and insert a human personality, a ghost, an essence into this animal. She has done this a number of times before, and it doesn't always work out so well for that undead animal. But she has a man, his name is Amos, that she's trying to put into these dead bodies. And this time, she puts him into the body of a fox. And this fox can talk to her. And this is really my big bone of contention with this story is how can a dead fox talk? Yeah, I understand you're resurrecting a dead animal and inserting a personality. That's pretty outside the range of realism. And I'm picking on the fact that the fox can talk. That may be just me. But it got me to question, is this fox a real fox? Or is this fox a figment of the narrator's imagination? And now, you have to read the story for yourself to figure that out. But this is not necessarily a normal horror story. I woke up this morning and I saw that MJ was reviewing or interviewing the author, Katherine Silva, on her channel. So that's what I watch and listen to. I walk in my cat Teddy. And I'm sort of glad I did. I sort of got a little more insight into this story. It is what the author calls an existential horror story. This is more about people's feelings and dealings in the world. It is not a splatterpunk type of story. It is not a jump scare kind of horror story. She's using horror in a way that a lot of horror authors don't. So I did like this story. I will not give it a rave review, but it's a pretty positive story. And on Kindle, it's only 99 cents. And it's well worth 99 cents. I'd go ahead and get it. It's good enough to give it a try. One of my favorite novels by a woman author is Geek Love by Katherine Dunn. It is a wild, strange, fantastical, gruesome sort of novel. And I really liked it. Last year, or was it the year before, a new novel by Katherine Dunn came out. She'd been dead for a number of years, and that novel is Toad. It turned out that Toad is the novel that Katherine Dunn wrote before she wrote Geek Love. And she had already published 2 novels before, Truck and Attic, and she submitted to her publisher, and the publisher declined to publish Toad. I think the stated reason was that there are no likable characters in this book. There's not really a lot of plot in this novel. So Katherine Dunn put it in her archive, and this archive was discovered years after she had died, and it got published. And I'm glad it got published. This novel is not as good as Geek Love, in my opinion. However, I read this as a buddy read with Bad is Rad too, because I got her to read Geek Love, and she really loved Geek Love too, and she wanted to read Toad. And I said, let's do a buddy read. Now, Bad is Rad too says Toad is on par with Geek Love, and I think I can understand why she says that. Toad is the story of Sally. Sally is a bit of an outsider in society. Katherine Dunn really does these outsider characters very well, because they exist on the margins of society. They do not fit in. And Sally, when I started reading it, really was not likable at all. But as the book progressed, I started warmed up to Sally in her dislikable ways, thinking she is a woman who's living her own life on her own terms, with her mental health issues, and just existing the life that she wants to exist. And I grew to accept that. And this is still a good book. I think it probably deserved to be published way back when, in the late 70s, early 80s, when she wrote it. And I'm really glad that this book was discovered in her archives and eventually got published. I am going to finally finish up my books of Katherine Dunn. I want to read Truck. I want to read Attic. And she has a couple of works of nonfiction that I want to seek out. She has a short essay called On Cussing, about when to cussing a novel. I'm all for that. I have finished listening to an audiobook, and that is The Rigor of Angels, Borges, Heisenberg, Kant, and the Ultimate Nature of Reality by William Egginton. This is, of course, a work of non-fiction. It is essentially about quantum physics. And this is not the first book on quantum physics that I have read, so it is a subject that I am somewhat familiar with. I do not claim to be an expert in quantum physics, and after listening to this book, I still have to doubt whether there are any real experts on quantum physics. We know it exists, and we, for better or worse, try to measure what quantum physics does. And I'm using that sort of slyly because, according to Heisenberg, when an experimenter takes measurements in an experiment, he changes the nature of the experiment. And you really have to dig into quantum physics a little bit deeper, because even though, as I said, this is not my first book, it still sort of puzzles me. And this book, The Rigor of Angels, I think is a rather good introduction to quantum physics, because it covers the basics that you need to know about the subject without trying to make you into a quantum physicist yourself. Also, this author, I think this is the really good part of this book. He understands that quantum physics does not exist in a vacuum. So he introduces Jorge Luis Borges, the absolutely fabulous Argentine writer, and Immanuel Kant, the really super genius philosopher. Because why Borges is not a quantum physicist and Kant is not a quantum physicist. The Egginton merges the poetic values of the Borges' literature and Kant's philosophy, and he brings them all together with Heisenberg. So you get this high overview of the quantum universe and what it likes to live in a quantum nature. And that's what I really liked about this edition. It goes a lot, again, into Borges. And Borges wrote perhaps my favorite short story of all time. That is The Garden of Forking Paths. And that story is essentially a quantum physics story, because it talks about reality. And when you make one choice, the world splits and exists simultaneously, with each choice being chosen, which is sort of the root of quantum physics. So you get this literary, poetic overview and intermeshing of quantum physics in this book. And Kant, I have never tried to read Immanuel Kant myself, because he is a very dense and complicated philosopher. But Egginton shows how important it is in philosophy. He shows how important Kant is contributing to philosophy, even to this day. So if you want to introduce yourself to quantum physics, I can highly recommend picking up The Rigor of Angels by William Egginton. I cannot escape the fact that I am reading Ulysses, and through the end of July, you'll be getting my updates on this book. I have just finished chapters 13 and 14 and released a video discussion with the excellent co-readers of this book. And chapter 13 is one of my favorite chapters so far. It is also one of the main chapters that got this book banned, because its main character, Leopold Bloom, does something naughty while looking at a young woman on the beach. And then you get to chapter 14. Chapter 14 is either sheer brilliance or a hot mess. I am still going towards the hot mess area. There are some people in the group who did like chapter 14. And to put it in a nutshell, it is talking about a woman in a maternity hospital. She's been delivering this baby for a long time. There's a bunch of men talking about it. And Joyce tries to merge the development of a fetus with the development of the English language. And I just don't think it works that well. He's trying something very unique, and the analogy is not perfect and did not work for me. And the language that he uses at the end of this chapter, I described as he's finding words and then trying to put another word afterwards to see how well it fits, like a jigsaw puzzle. And if that word does not fit, he puts another word. And sometimes these words just really don't make sense unless you're really trying really hard and looking really deep. This chapter is just gibberish. But is it brilliance? I don't know. I still have a while to go to finish this book. I am definitely going to finish Ulysses and put that in a feather in my cap to get it done. Okay, that is the end of June. Thank you so much for watching, and keep on reading.